Every time I've brought up a future yet to be named Ace Combat title, I get comments talking about remasters or remakes of older games, usually 3, 4, 5, and 0, but sometimes X or 6, and there's also this sicko who wants an Assault Horizon remaster. Well, the most recent spate of this comes from my discussion of the title following Ace Combat 8 Wings of Thieves, and why I feel like I can guarantee that it will exist. Commenters speculating or wishing that a future game will be a remaster started with a number of shorts I made discussing Ace Combat 8 years ago, before we even knew it would be called Ace Combat 8. Yes, people were saying that they thought instead of releasing a new game after a really long gap, Project Aces was instead making a remaster. Before I discuss why remakes or remasters for older Ace Combat titles won't be happening anytime soon, let me first address a few starting points so you can understand me better. First off, I would love to be wrong about this. I would very much enjoy remasters of some of my favorite games. My take here does not come from a heart that is full of hate for any title, even if I do make fun of some of them. And second, when I say remake or remaster, I am not talking about something similar to the PS4 port of Ace Combat 5, where the game remains wholly unchanged except for graphical and platform updates. I believe a project of that nature for another game is entirely possible to be released at any moment, say as a pre-order bonus for Wings of Thieves. If your definition of remaster fits this version of Ace Combat 5, that's perfectly fine. There's not really a problem with that, but please realize that I am not talking about it as such. Let me illustrate the issues I see by going over what it would take to create a remaster or remake of an older title. We're actually in a great spot for this. We can take advantage of the experience that Project Aces and ILCA have with Ace Combat 8 and Unreal Engine 5, and can even choose to use the Cloud Engine Cloudly if we would like to. This will also come with a full roster of planes and other assets that are currently in creation or used in Ace Combat 8, so all of the building blocks are there to create a remaster of any title. There have also been high-quality releases of most of the soundtracks for older titles. A lessened need to compose new music is actually a real reason remakes would be easier, but I think it's quite small compared to the next topic. Every single game would have to have most or all of its levels redesigned. Ace Combat in the years since any of these titles have been released has not just improved graphically, but also in how the gameplay is designed. This isn't about strictly ripping unsuccessful features out and never using them again. As they said in a recent dev diary for Ace Combat 8, it's about evolution. Ace Combat 4's score attack missions are a great example of this in my mind. They are way overdone in Shattered Skies. While some are spectacular, others leave you without much to do, and 110 minutes of them is too much for what the rest of the campaign is. Ace Combat 0 and X do score attack missions a bit differently, and Skies Unknown brings them back in essentially the same form as 4, with all of these varieties having their upsides and downsides. If you want to remake Whiskey Corridor, you can't just make the environment and then plug and play all the same enemies. If it's worth it to change it, it's worth it to redesign it, if it's worth it to remaster. Clearly, there are some missions that are of a high enough quality that you can just do an effective one-for-one recreation, but these are not the majority of missions, and as the games get older, there's usually a higher and higher proportion of levels that you would likely want to heavily redesign. Even with a fairly light touch on redesigning the levels in a given game, these changes will require completely new voice lines for the sections changed. If you don't understand why this is, please go play Metal Gear Solid Delta. It's less about it being any sort of bad, more just that if you can, you don't want to mix voice acting like that. The overarching stories would obviously be kept from the games, otherwise what's the point? But depending on the exact title, there's probably some need to update cutscenes, briefing graphics, un-early PlayStation-ify some stuff, but that's probably about it. So, for our Ace Combat Remaster, we use the tools that are currently in use for Ace Combat 8. We have to redesign most, if not all of the game to bring it up to current design spec, have to write and record many new voice lines, and touch up the story cutscenes somewhat. I hope I've been leading to this point well enough that you're at the same place as me, but to say it directly, all of that would take about as much in terms of time and resources to do as just making an entirely new Ace Combat game from the ground up. Before Ace Combat 8 Wings of Thieves was officially revealed, I heavily questioned the idea that it would make any sense to shackle the creative ideas that can be created within Ace Combat to an older title before setting out what new things Project Aces would like to do with new Ace Combat titles. Now that we've had the reveal in the recent dev diary, I can tell you, it's not just me that thinks this. Ace Combat 8 is meant to take everything from the past 30 years of the series and move it forwards, evolve it, as I said earlier. Remakes or remasters at the level that is worth doing, as discussed, do not fit into this idea if only Wings of Thieves is released before engaging in recreating the Unsung Wars, Skies of Deception, or Ace Combat 2 for a third time. Now, after this theoretical Ace Combat 9 and Wings of Thieves seeing widespread success, I feel the possibility of putting our discussed level of resources into older titles both makes more sense and is fairly likely. That's not anytime soon though, unless you're the Greenland shark or Galapagos tortoise and experience time differently. A related topic to remasters that also comes up pretty frequently is the claim that remasters haven't happened because Bandai Namco lost the licensing for the planes in older games. This is pretty easily disproven by their ability to include Ace Combat 5 and 6 as pre-order bonuses for Ace Combat 7. It doesn't matter if they were a bonus, free, or directly paid for. You can't distribute something at all if you don't have the proper licensing agreements. There's no weird loophole. This is a baseless rumor that people need to stop spreading. Anyways, to end it all off, I'd like to pose a question to the folks who've made it this far. What's the one feature you remove from a remaster of your favorite Ace Combat game?